Hi, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm going to give folks just a few seconds to hop on, but I am Twanna Carter, and I am a career transition coach for professional women. And what I do is I help professional women overcome that fear and anxiety that can come with transitioning into a new career or getting a promotion, right? And I do that by empowering them to recognize and communicate their unique value. And as well by instilling a deep sense of belief in their own strengths and abilities so they can confidently and courageously create success on their own terms and pursue a path of purpose that is meaningful to them. So that's who I am, Dr. Tawana. And as I said, I'm going to give folks a couple of seconds to hop on. So if you can hear me, drop a number one in the chats. And so let me just say welcome to everybody. To those of you on Facebook, welcome, welcome, welcome. To everybody catching this on LinkedIn, you are welcome as well. And for those of you who are viewing this on YouTube, you too are welcome into my space. I thank you for sharing my space today as I talk about breaking out of a rut, right? Tips to switch careers when you've been in the same job or the same field or sometimes with the same company for 5, 10, 15, even 20 years. It can feel a little bit daunting. I will admit that. At least that's what my clients tell me when they come in. I've only done this for 20 years. What else am I going to do? What else am I qualified to do? How can I move? And this is the only thing I've ever done in my career. It can feel a little overwhelming, right? And so, you know, again, when you've been in a career field that long, you may be thinking like, yes, it's time to do something else, but you also maybe pull back. But what? I've been here this long, right? And so if you're lucky, you're enjoying what you do, and chances are your responsibilities may have changed or just simply aren't what they used to be. And you're looking for something a little bit different, right? You want something just a little different or maybe a lot different. Folks say, I've done this for a while. I want something totally new. Very much possible, right? And so oftentimes, however, what happens is people who've been in the same career or their same job 5, 10, 15, 20 years, they often fear losing pay and compensation. Who's going to pay me making what I make now? Right? That's a huge one, right? And for other folks, it's the fear of losing their identity that job or that career has given them over the last 5 to 20 years of their life. Many others just fear the unknown. I've not done anything else, so everything out there seems a little scary because, well, I've not done it before, right? Other folks will fear that they won't be seen as valuable anymore, and so they feel that they no longer have the skills to compete with other folks that are out there. And even, even if you're 35 and you've been in the same career 15 years or 10 years, you can feel the same as someone who, say, is 55 and has done the same thing for 15 years. You kind of feel like I can't compete with those younger people out there. How do I do that? And so that creates even more anxiety, even more fear, and then people just get stuck. They don't really want to be there anymore, but they just feel stuck. How do I get out? I don't know how to get out. And then I talked to ladies who said, well, I tried it, it didn't work. I applied for jobs, no one even picked me up, or I applied for jobs and my resume got a hit, but no one interviewed me, or I never get the interviews that I go for. And so again, all creates to that feeling of maybe I'm not good enough for this, or maybe I can't compete. So the good news is yes, there are ways that you can switch careers. Even if you've been in a career for 10, 15, 20 years. I know I have clients who were in their careers 10 years, 15 years, feeling stuck. I can't do anything else. This is all I know how to do. And there's no way anybody else is going to hire me. And they were wrong, right? And so I'm going to share my tips with you for making this transition. Okay. And so I do want to just check real quick because I didn't see anyone pop a one in the box. And I do appreciate if you will pop a one in the chat box for me, in the comment box, to be sure that you can hear me. I would appreciate that because every blue moon, I forget to turn on my sound. It happens. I'm just saying every once in a while it does happen. Okay. So I am going to, as they used to say in the army, I'm going to soldier on. If you can't hear me, I'm sure someone will come along and pop a light. I can't hear you in the box. Okay. So, number one, my first tip, and I've got a tickle in my throat, not sure why, but I'm going to grab something here to drink. Okay. So, I do have some comments. Let's check out my comments real quick. Thank you. So Christina says that she can hear me. Thank you, Christina. And Raquel says she can hear me as well. Thank you, ladies. I appreciate that. So, yes, we are fired on all cylinders. So, the number one tip that I give my clients is look at jobs, look at other jobs and other careers. Sometimes we can feel bogged down by what we do and think nobody else is going to hire me to do anything. It helps to look at other careers and other jobs because you may realize that, oh, I do some of that. Yeah, I do I do that too. It does help to give you, sometimes we feel like we got to recreate everything from scratch. You don't. You can peep over at what someone else is doing and say, I can probably do that. I can do that, right? And you can also take a career assessment. Take a career assessment, and it will pretty much point out to you what careers feels fit you, right? They have some Hollins assessments out there, a number of assessments that you can take. And some of you may find that you've kind of been in the wrong place for years and years and years. I've had clients who figured that out. So it was like, yeah, good to know, right? Also, don't be afraid. Go ahead and examine job descriptions and job ads. And with this caveat, please look for the things you can do. Because if you pull up a job announcement and you only look for the things you cannot do or you need to learn, you feel intimidated. It gets a little bit overwhelming. And it kind of is like, yeah, I guess I'm stuck here because I can't do any of that stuff. So be sure that you look for the stuff you can do, not just all the stuff like I don't know how to do that, because you never know who will be willing to train you, right? I've had plenty of jobs, and again, I'm a job transitioner, right? It's just kind of goes with being a career transition coach. This is why I'm here. I've had 11 career changes, and I got to tell you, some of those career changes, I had this knowledge, but not this. But because I was able to interview well, able to spell out what I did have, they brought me on board and trained me for the rest. It is possible, depending on if you look to see what you already have instead of feeling overwhelmed by what you can't do or don't have, right? Where do you find these job postings? Yes, you can find them on job boards, you can find them on LinkedIn, you can find them on Glassdoor, Indeed.com, Mustard, as well as go to the individual companies. If you're sitting there like, maybe I would like to work for IBM one day. Okay, I'll work for Microsoft or I'll work for Target. Well, go to their individual websites. Many of them will advertise on job boards, but sometimes you find more detail or additional jobs on their company websites that they're not really advertising anywhere else, right? And so that's just to get you started to look at those jobs. Of course, you don't want to just stop at job boards because that's when you hear people saying, I put in 200 applications and nobody's called me back because they're only using job boards. I'm not saying they don't work. I'm just saying it can be a long, lonely road until you get someone who will hire you, right? So take that in mind and keep that in mind, right? And take leave for a couple of days and do some job shadowing, right? Typically, a job shadow is like probably a few hours, sometimes a day. So if you take a couple of days of leave, you can actually job shadow different companies. But also check for the employers who are still doing virtual job shadowing. Because remember, when COVID happened, the travel was out and in the office stuff was out. And so a lot of companies did virtual job shadowing. The benefit of job shadowing is it just gives you like a bird's eye view of what someone is doing as they go about their day. That's important because sometimes things that look good from the outside, they're not really as good when you get on the inside. But job shadowing kind of helps you to sort through all that stuff, right? And do also network with people already doing the job that you're thinking about. Set up those informational interviews, and then that's your chance to question them. Always a caveat, never ask anybody for a job on an informational interview because number one, it's not the purpose. Number two, you're typically, when you do an informational interview, you're not hiring the person with, hiring capability anyway. So don't put them on the spot, making them regret that they decided to meet you because they can't give you a job, right? Now, if they're amenable, they may give you some tips, inside tips. Go for the inside tips. I don't have a problem with that, but don't ask for a job. Okay. So that was all under look at other jobs and careers. And again, you're not necessarily settling on anything, you're just collecting information to see what could possibly fit with what you already know how to do. Number two, hire a career coach, right? It's an important step in your career transition. Your career coach will help you create a doable plan for the career change. It is very easy to get overwhelmed or to become what's the correct for it, to feel like I'll never match up to any of this. There's no sense in me even going, because a lot of people, a lot of us, why included, I've looked at job applications back in the day and go, I don't fit, they're not gonna hire me for this, I'm not good enough for this. A career coach will not let you do that, right? A career coach will stop you from underestimating yourself, because they're going to sit down and figure out all the skill sets that you have. And then, if they're like me, they're savvy. They can also pick out what you're underplaying, what you're underestimating, and bring that up, because sometimes the stuff that you're underestimating on is important. When I first started this journey in helping people, well, some paying me to help people find their jobs, I work with veterans, veterans of, Army, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, Navy, all those. One thing that I noticed after about 6 months to a year working with them is that their mindset, because I'll say, hey, what do you do? What are your skill sets? Da, 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 da. And their mindset was always, yeah, any stupid monkey can do that. I can do that in my sleep. It's not important. Yeah, anybody can do that. I can close my eyes, go to sleep, and do this. And so they downplayed it. They underestimated the skills. I still find, even though I don't see primarily veterans anymore, I do work with professional women. I still see professional women doing exactly that, downplaying, underestimating your skills. Well, anybody can do it. I mean, I do that in my sleep. It's not a big deal. It doesn't even take me very long. Yeah, but those are the skills that employers are looking for. So you don't want to get, you don't, number one, you don't want to downplay to yourself, because it makes you feel like you're not good enough, you're not worthy enough to get said job. Number two, you certainly don't want to sit in an interview and downplay your skills. Oftentimes, that's why people don't get hired, and they come, looking for a career coach, because they're sitting in interviews downplaying everything. And you also downplay all your skills on your resume as well, because you just like, anybody can do it. It's not a big deal. I do it in my sleep. Yeah, but you've done it for 15 years. That's why you do it in your sleep. But to another employer, it's valuable. It is extremely valuable. They're looking for someone that can do it in their sleep. So they don't have to necessarily train you to do those things. And you can walk in the door hitting it on all cylinders, right? So do hire that career coach, because that's what we help you do, right? And so a doable plan will include, reviewing that resume and helping you with interview skills, as well as giving you advice on, you have these skill sets. Have you ever thought about doing these jobs over here? And then for some of you, you don't want to change jobs. You want to get that promotion. Well, a career coach can help you do that as well, whether that promotion is within the company you're working for or with another company, right? Maybe even the competitor. Ooh, it happens. Hey, it happens, right? As long as you're not spilling secrets, you'll be fine. Okay. And also, one of the things that I do as a career coach, and I have a longer program, as well as when you land the job, I actually help you navigate the political environment, especially for those of you getting promoted into management for the first time, or maybe even the second time, and you want to avoid pitfalls, right? Career coaches can help you do that, right? The career coach can be a really great ally for you if you're not really sure who you can or cannot trust in your new work environment, right? And also, career coaches provide focus, they provide support and accountability, right? And that is really necessary. It's really necessary, especially if you are doing a 180-degree turnaround. Because to tell you what happens is, the longer you look for a job, the more job announcements that you read, the more pessimistic you become and the more you feel like it's never going to happen, and then you just stop altogether and stop. Well, the career coach is there to provide accountability and to help keep you motivated and figure out what motivates you to keep going. All right. And then also when, when that career coach is helping you focus and providing that support and accountability, it really helps to prevent overwhelm and the fear of failure, because a lot of people will stay in the same job because they fear failing. In other words, I fear not ever getting another job, or I feel someone telling me no. You know, you can get told no any day, but a career coach helps you work through that so that it doesn't affect your self esteem and your self esteem starts nosediving. Yeah. Now, I'm just going to say this, yes, it is possible to have a successful career switch without finding a career coach. It is just much easier when you have someone going along with you for the journey and someone that's been there. Again, 11 career transitions. That last one was from a full time job into this, doing entrepreneurship full time. I have two different companies, and so I run both of those full time now. And so, but I have that experience. I've been there. I understand, and I've helped so many people navigate what you're trying to navigate, right? And so there are just many, many different ways you can find a career coach. LinkedIn is a wonderful place, but so is Facebook, so is Instagram. It just depends on what your flavor is. You can find a career coach on Pinterest, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, you sure can, right? We're everywhere. Number three, get a job using what you got. I want you to get out of the mindset that you have to develop all brand new skills to even remotely be possible to land a new job. No, you want to get the job that lets you use the skills you already have, right? Of course, the more skills you bring to a new career, the less training and education that employer will have to give you for you to be successful. So that's why I like to tell folks it isn't true that you got to have new off the block. I just got a degree, and I can't compete with those people who just got their degrees or these young folks. Not true, because employers like to have seasoned people who already have the skill sets. Therefore they only need to train you how their company does their business, not train you all over from the beginning. All right. And so I don't want to discourage, my young folks either, my younger people out there. I don't want to discourage you because there are employers who are also looking for younger, fresher people as well. There's a place for everybody there. We have like six generations in the workplace right there. You have a place in the workplace. Okay. So, as well, if, oftentimes when you're getting a job based on the skills you already have, it makes you feel more secure. Like, yeah, I got this, I already got that. I know I'm going to succeed because I already have it. Now, some of you may be doing a 180-degree change. You're going from this career to that career. I've done that, out of the 11 career transitions that I've had, I've only done the same job twice. Every time I did something different. It is very possible to do a 180-degree turnaround without losing all your money and all your pensions and all your benefits, right? Well, maybe pension, but certainly not all of your benefits and all of your pay, right? You can do that. You can actually, spend quality time with that coach. If you're doing a 180-degree turnaround, that's when you really want to do quality time with a career coach, because she'll help you look at the skill sets you have to build a new career using those skill sets you already have. And then if there's something lacking, if there are gaps in your knowledge, point out to you like this, these are the gaps that I'm seeing right now. How do you want to get those filled? Right? And so get a job using your contacts, right? Getting a new job isn't all about doing everything on your own by yourself, going it the hard way. I mean, you actually can if that's the way you choose to do it, but it is much easier by using to think about all the people who already know about you. They know about the work you do. And for the folks that you trust, tell them about the new job that you're looking for that you like to do, right? And these are, sometimes old employers that you used to work for. They may be on the list. Recruiters, right? Executive recruiters, human resources professionals, folks you work with, people you used to work with, people you went to school with, people you go to church with, people that you are doing volunteer work with, people in your sorority fraternity groups. All of those things, look there to use the contacts you already have, right? To get a job. It is just easier to do it rather than feel like you got to do every single step. It's like, I had to walk to school uphill both ways. You don't have to do that in doing a career change, right? Even if you've been there 5, 10, 15 years, you really don't have to do that now. If you're like me and you feel like you don't know anybody, because I felt like that when I got out of the military. I was like, oh, I don't know anybody out here. Everybody knows in the army. How are they going to help me find a job? Or you feel like you can't trust anybody, I invite you to look again, because there were people who were willing to help me had I but asked. I didn't know because I never asked. So look again, right? Chances are there are plenty of folks that you've worked with, you've been in organizations with, you attend church with, or you provided great customer service for, you helped out on a project or a task, or gave them some useful information. They'd be happy to help you, right? Sometimes our mindsets are set and we're only seeing things one way. You don't see anything out here. You only see things one way, which prevents you from actually seeing what the reality is. Okay. And so do concentrate on expanding your network. Start with what you got. And sometimes it may only be a person or two. Do work on expanding that network. Also, if you like, no, I got nobody, or you're in a toxic workplace, you're like, I really can't trust anybody from this job, consider expanding your network using social media platforms such as LinkedIn and Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and Pinterest and Quora. These are really great places to join groups of folks who doing what you do and they're trying to go here. For instance, I know there are several groups out there that cater to teachers. They look at teachers who are so ready to jump from teaching, they just can't wait, right? Similarly, there are a lot of groups out there for nurses who are just like, I don't want to be a nurse anymore. I'm worn out. I'm tired. I'm burned out. I don't want to do this anymore. People create groups around that. So, whatever you're doing, I invite you to cross social media and look for the people who are in your job trying to bounce from the job or bounce to a specific job. I promise you, they'll be out there and they'll be more than happy to welcome you in. Great place to start networking, even if you like me, you got social anxiety or you're an introvert. Really great way to start working. Okay. And so the other thing is, you know, yeah, sometimes it seems tough, right? When you're trying to network, especially anybody out there is an introvert, drop hashtag introvert in the comments if you're an introvert. I know it's tough and I've walked this journey before. Understand that introverts like to know people one on one. Oftentimes when you join a group that is centered around a specific job or a particular industry, it is a little easier to meet folks, to really reach out and see. On Facebook there's a whole group for introverts, right? There's an entire group, there are several groups for introverts. So that means that everybody in that group is an introvert. Think you may meet someone to form a bond with and talk about some things and then branch out from there? Probably, right? Give it a try. All right, it won't hurt you, but do give it a try. So tip number 4 that I have for you is, do consider going to school for your dream career, especially if you were like me, you're a lifelong learner. Yes, I have 3 degrees. I've actually thought about getting an MBA. I just don't, like, I run 2 companies and don't have time right now, but I love to learn. If that is you, then consider going back for another career. And I'm sorry, another degree. It's actually worth it. I had fun in all, well, maybe not that first degree. I had zoology, that minor in chemistry. I don't remember anything really fun about that one. But certainly the therapy, the counseling degree that I have and the PhD in human services, those were fun at different points, but not that zoology thing. But anyway, I digress. And so if you have a lot of experience, right, and you're looking to switch careers, just consider getting another degree. If you got the time, effort, and the money, go for it. You won't miss it, especially if you're a lifelong learner. However, if you don't really feel like going through all that whole college experience again and trying to work and go to school full time, you're like, ugh, that just is not hitting it for me. Then consider taking courses at a local community college. The classes are really inexpensive, or universities or colleges to fill in the gaps in your education. I've done that. Do consider getting certifications. Don't overlook certifications, because a lot of times, if most things are kind of equal when you have a lot of people applying for a job, sometimes it's the certifications that you pull out of the pack and it sets you aside. One of my alma maters, UAB, the University of Alabama in Birmingham, offers several choices for certifications, right? A lot of colleges do. For instance, many of you may be familiar with another one of the colleges that I attended, the University of South Florida, and you might be familiar with the University of South Florida's D&I certification, right? Diversity, equity, and inclusion. It came out last year. It was free. It costs $99 now, but it's like worth it. It's more than worth that $99 to get certified in D&I. That's an easy fix. It's at your own pace. Certifications are really a great way of gaining additional knowledge without having to get the whole degree. And I'm going to brag a little bit on UAB. UAB now has it. If you get two certifications, they will give you the master's degree. They'll figure it, and they'll give you a master's degree because, their certification courses are about 15 courses long. I'm sorry, 15 credits, or about 5 classes. You can get a master's degree. They're like, yeah, you put in the work, you've done the training. Here you go. Here's a master's degree. So it's a really great way of getting a master's without feeling like you're getting a master's, if that makes any sense. But anyway, there are many other universities that do that. And so I'm in Florida and Alabama because that's where I'm from. That's where I live. I know that Auburn University does the same thing. I know the University of Alabama, in Tuscaloosa does the same thing. A lot of them do. I've looked at courses at Harvard. I've looked at courses at Howard certification courses. It's a great way to go without that whole entire degree thing, right? Now, um, and remember this, that it's okay if your educational background is not immediately obvious when it comes to time for employers to look at you to see who they want to hire. I'm telling you, I majored in zoology and minored in chemistry, in from my bachelor's degree, right? I've done a little bit of everything, so everybody learns a little differently. Employers are looking for a little different thing, so don't let those things slow you down or hinder you. Everything can be negotiable. I tell folks that there are 3 reasons that employers going to hire you. The number one reason, your personality is a fit for the section, the group, the company, the vision. Your personality is a fit. That's number one reason. Not whether you know what you know. Your personality is a good fit. Then they need an opening so they can hire you into the opening. Number 3 is what you know. So remember that. Oftentimes it's the personality that they're looking for. And so those of us that have social anxiety, and those of you that are like me, you're an introvert, that can be a little bit challenging because you sometimes are more withdrawn. And so you see my stage persona here, and I've learned to do this. And that's something that I also work with my coaches on doing, because I'm an introvert, and so I tend to attract people who are introverts. And don't get me wrong, I have plenty of extrovert clients too, but I actually teach you how to get that persona so that it reaches out to people and it touches them when you're interviewing, right? It is very much possible, and that's one of the reasons why your career transition coach will help you do. They'll help you to do that. In addition to retooling that resume, revamping your interview stories, and showing you how to answer those pesky interview questions, they teach you how to sit. Because if you're sitting here like this, and your hands are all like this, it presents as a different person than when you're sitting up and you're looking out and doing it. So I coach you on doing that as well, right? Number 5, do be willing to start over, and understand that I do not equate starting over with starting ground zero with your salary. I haven't had to, and I don't advise my coachees to do so. There are some people that will do that because they have their retirement or they retired, and they're like, well, I just want to do what I want to do. If I have to start at the bottom, I'll do it because it's just what I want to do. You're fine in doing that, but you don't have to. Remember, I told you that one of the fears people have is, if I start over, I got to start at the bottom and pay, right? Everything. That's not true. But there are a number of ways that you can get around this. Again, going back to school, getting that additional education that you need, and understand this, be willing to start over. If you are going into a profession that requires a license, you're going to have to do some school. You likely will have to start over near or at the bottom, right? But understand that's because they require a license or certifications. I mean, licensure and registrations. So that's different. To be a registered nurse, you're not going to come off the street and, let's say that you were a manager. Let's say that you're a stockbroker and you decide to become a nurse. That's a whole mismatch there. You're gonna have to do some schooling, and you're gonna have to start over. So understand and be realistic, right? Just be realistic. When I started teaching, now I went through on a different program, but I had to go take all of those courses, those education courses, and those types of things to be to teach. Now, when it came down to the science, I was all over it. I majored in zoology and minored in chemistry, so I didn't have to do much on the science side. I only had to take one course, earth science, right? But everything else I had, but all the teaching stuff I had to do because I had to get a license. So be realistic. Yes, you're gonna have to take some courses if you're getting something that's licensed, right? But do consider moving across country or across the state or overseas for different jobs because different companies require different things, and it can really open up some doors for you. Consider doing volunteer work to gain the experience that you need, right? If you are a bookkeeper, you want to do something, accounting, well, there's not much difference between, there's not a lot of space. You're in the same field. Skill sets are different. But if you volunteer for the agency to do some accounting for them, that's experience. Use it. Many applications will say, you need to put your paid experience and your volunteer experience. Volunteering counts. It's a wonderful, easy way to get the skills you need and to be to switch your job, right? And don't be afraid to consider starting your own business. You can do this part time without a loss of income. And now while you're gaining your experience, you might make a little extra money on the side. And it does make people feel comfortable when they do it this way, so they don't feel like they got to start over ground zero and only work on this amount of money, right? It works. I did it, right? And literally, I was a therapist with my own business for 10 years before I resigned to do this full time. So, yes, it works. And the last tip that I have for you today is stay connected to your support system. Looking for a new job is a whole job in of itself. It is very easy to look at job description after job description and become pessimistic and feel like I don't measure up, nobody's going to hire me, right? It's also easy to become discouraged when you apply for job after job and you don't get any hits, and companies not calling you back. Some are great about it, many are not, but you can't let that influence you personally. So you have to stay connected, right? To your support system, the people that will motivate you, encourage you, and be there on your side. Now, I know what some of you are saying, because again, if you're an introvert or you have anxiety, you may not have a large support system. And some of us have toxic families, so we don't have a support system. If you don't have one, consider joining a group on Slack or Facebook. Again, the first one I would consider joining is whatever you currently do now, find a group and join that. And then find a group that, people leaving this, like if it's nurse, people who left being a nurse, find those groups out there. They are out there, right? If you're a stockbroker, you're tired of finance world, you want to do something else, look at the people who've done what you've done, right? These are groups that are created for folks who leave job X, right? You want to leave being a teacher, nurse, doctor, stockbroker, financial analyst, whatever it is. People out there have created groups already. Now, on the slim chance that you can't find a group to join, then start one of your own, because I guarantee you, you are not the only person who's looking to leave your job and do something else, right? So I've shared with you 6 tips, right, for getting out of a job rut when you've been in that job 5, 10, 15, even 20 years, right? And I shared with you that there are many reasons why people don't change careers. The most common being the fear of the unknown. People fear they're going to lose their salary. People fear they're not going to catch on quick enough in their new job. They're afraid they won't be seen as valuable as they believe they are, or sometimes they just don't feel like they're valuable at all. But this is no reason for you not to go ahead and shoot your shot at your dream. You can do it. I've had, my client, I've had one client who did 20 years in the same career field, 20 years, and was kind of like, who's going to hire me? Well, shoot, she got recommended by the VP, did the interview. Everybody say, I want this person over here. The VP was like, but I like her. I like her. Right? It is definitely possible. Okay. And so the important thing here is that you don't stop trying, keep support, keep in contact with your support group, and get a great career coach, right? And have an open mind when it comes to this. For some folks, they can be in a career field and change and get a job in 2 months. Other folks, it may take a little longer than that. It will take you as long as you need to get that new job, right? So if this resonated with you, and go ahead and drop switch in the comments, and I'll reach out to you and set up that 15-minute career solution call, and basically open up your world to what is possible. Now, I do appreciate you for joining me today, and you hung in there to the end. Thank you, thank you, thank you for that. Be back here same time next Wednesday when I'll be talking about red flags when the job is too stressful. Yes, a lot of stress going on right now. The red flags, be right here next week. We're going to switch gears and talk about stress a little bit, because I know that folks are, it's there. There's a lot of stress going on. So again, thank you for being here, and I will see you next week. Take care. Bye bye.